Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are doing our part 2 on anger. So part 1 last week was about you being upset with others about how they maybe have not shown up. And this is more for family members. This is more intense, I think, than it is for our relationships with friends. It can be with friends, but what I have seen is this is mostly an intense feeling of anger and disappointment towards your family members. And we used the example last week of, somebody is sick and in the hospital. Maybe you have a crisis with one of your children. Maybe you got dad and mom are failing and you're the only one that's doing all the work. There's somebody, you have a sibling who's fallen off the wagon and is dealing with chronic addiction. So I was giving some examples of crises in families where I have worked with people who've said, I'm the one who does everything and I'm so mad at everybody else. And we explained a little bit about, what the other people in the family might be going through, what their roles are in a family, and how and why they might be showing up the way they're showing up.
Right.
And then today we're going to really talk about you when you're the person who's mad and what happens in the aftermath of when the crisis has abated or you're no longer feeling that seething anger and rage. What happens to you?
What to do?
Well, not just what to do, but what happens to you on the inside, emotionally, psychologically, what you might go through after because you can't stay that angry for forever. I mean, you can't stay that angry for too long. You go into another place psychologically.
You can, but that's certainly not healthy. It's not advisable, right?
Right.
It's going to spiral you to other places, and that's not going to be good either.
So we're going to get into it. And, I think that this episode is going to end up being, it is going to end up being about grief, because once we get out of intense anger, that cloud has passed over your head and it's moved on, and you realize I'm not so intensely angry anymore. I'm not so pissed off. I don't feel like this hair trigger of wanting to just go off on everybody around me or yell at that person. Like, I fantasize about calling them and just giving them a piece of my mind. I don't feel that way now. I don't feel that way anymore. What happens after?
Yeah.
Because those feelings will go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about it. Before we get into the episode, just a reminder, if you're looking for coaching, my group coaching starts January 21st. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be coached, and if you've ever wondered what it's like to be coached by me, this is your opportunity. It's a 6-week program, and it's a wonderful way to start off your new year. So I'm going to coach you up. I'm keeping it small on purpose because I want those of you who are in the group to get undivided attention. And this is not one of those groups where you sign up and it's like you never can say a thing. I've been in those large group coaching programs and you're just anonymous. And I've always been very wah-wah about them. Like, they're not that great. I don't need to be told to drink 8 glasses, 8 ounces of water every day. I mean, that's not what this is about. We are going to talk about overwhelm. We're talking about people pleasing. We're talking about self-sabotage. We're talking about relationships in your life, difficult relationships in your life, people who make you mad, people who make you frustrated, and why you feel like, you're just struggling in life. Maybe you're dealing with the voice inside your head where you ate shitty today and I didn't work out, so now I feel guilty. And all the stuff that goes on in our minds, I'm going to coach you on it, okay? This is emotional mastery. I'm teaching you the skills. I don't teach specifically the skills on this podcast because I'm not your personal coach, and it would be inappropriate and I think unethical to really do that. This podcast it's all about psychoeducation in your mental health and wellness. Group coaching is different. I get to know you and I can speak more specifically to you and what it is that you're dealing with in your life. Okay. So the link is in the show notes of this episode, and go there, click it, sign up. I want to meet you. I want you in there. You will not be disappointed. Okay.
Small group.
All right.
Intimate.
Yeah. Emotional mastery.
There you go.
So let's get going.
Cool.
All right. Okay. So what happens after the anger? You went through a period of time, maybe it was a week, maybe it's been years of intense anger at family members. Well, what we tend to move into is a sort of grief. It's a sort of loss. And it can be a hard one. We call it ambiguous grief or ambiguous loss, really, because it's the grief or loss that you feel when the other person is still alive. So I hear this a lot. You see this a lot in with divorced couples where there's the grieving period of the marriage no longer being together, but the person is still alive. So you're grieving the loss of them, of the identity of being a wife, of being a husband, of being a family with them. They're living a separate life and you're so mad and it's a death, but that person's still alive. This is very similar to that.
Okay.
Okay. So, who do you become when your family disappoints you? And this is also very relevant today because what are the big topics that we're talking about all over social media? And I talked about it a year ago on TikTok, and I did a 10-minute sort of a TED Talk on TikTok a year ago, 2024 December. And that has been my most viewed post on TikTok, and it went viral. And it was all about this no contact with our parents. Oprah just did a show on it. I think some other big name coaches, Mel Robbins, who I have a lot of criticisms of. Not a fan of Mel Robbins. If you didn't know it, you know it now. Not a fan of her. Anyways, somebody told me she did an episode about it. And what that does to people and why people go no contact. And I'm telling you the comments, Tim. I mean, even now today, people still like that post and people still comment and people are hate therapists too. There was a lot of people on there saying, "You're the reason why my family broke up. You're the worst." People like you, they don't know me personally, but you therapists, you coaches, you're the worst. You're the reason why my adult daughter and son-in-law no longer speak to me because people like you tell them to go no contact. I mean, it was like, whoa, this is intense. The feelings and I didn't take it personally. I don't take it personally because it's not about me. They don't really know me. It's about, I activated something that got going inside of them that they're dealing with in their own life. And it's about pain. It comes across as angry and caustic, of course, in the comments on a social media app. Underneath that is someone's in pain.
Yeah.
And maybe they're looking for answers on social media and then they come across something I'm saying. A lot of people like it because maybe you are the adult child who cut off relationships with your parents. And what I said in there, you can all go back and if you're on TikTok, you can watch it. It was December of 2024. What I was saying in there is if you are the person who your adult child is cut off with you, so I'm talking to the boomers, maybe the next generation up, maybe it's higher Gen X, boomers, and silent generation, say you're sorry. Because I think in general, remember, this is in general, boomers and the silent generation, they weren't air quote trained that way. It's hard for them to say to their child, I'm sorry for the mistakes I made. I'm sorry that you felt that way. I'm sorry that happened. I don't remember it. And I'm sorry. There's what I have seen in my practice and in my personal life is a lot of defensiveness and I'm not going to say I'm sorry to you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying I'm sorry because that's not how they were raised. Because they would, first of all, never talk to their parents about things that they did wrong because even more of the millennials and even the Gen Xers, we're in therapy. The boomers and above, they didn't go to therapy. They didn't air their dirty laundry to a person outside of the home. And so you didn't talk about those things. And you certainly didn't ask for your parent to admit something that they did wrong when you were 10 or 15. You just didn't do that. So they were like, I'm not going to say I'm sorry to you.
Yeah.
And who are you to even ask
It's like ancient history.
You've got a lot of nerve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of all the nerve, right?
Yeah.
So that went viral. And this sort of goes into that a little bit about what happens after, and I see it now, with again, the no contact of you get angry, you're angry, and then you cut off a relationship, let's say, with your adult parents. Which, by the way, I have to say, any therapist worth their salt is not going to make that recommendation. We don't do that. I'm talking about psychotherapy, not coaching. But I'm a licensed mental health professional. I have never told somebody to end the relationship with their parent, ever.
Yeah.
It's a discussion. It's not my job to give you advice and to tell you what I think. And because that informs my coaching, I'm still not going to tell a coaching client, I think you really ought to end a relationship with your parents. If there's domestic violence, I'm going to say you need to remove yourself from the situation. You need to get out of the situation. You need to get yourself safe, whether it be physically safe. I've sent people to shelters, to safe houses. That's different.
Yeah.
If I've counseled many people around emotional safety, psychological safety, and I've still never said, and I'm saying the word never here because I can't. You need to leave. You need to end the relationship. You should cut off all ties with that parent. No. I don't operate that way. And most therapists don't operate that way.
So where does that message come from? I mean, if the therapists are being accused of spreading that story, and you're saying, no, not at all, therapists, like, well, so who's bringing that message to the table? Where's it coming from?
Good question. And I have to say, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
It's a good question,
That's crazy.
Tim, and I haven't thought about that. All I know is my colleagues in real life, in my practice here in the suburbs of Chicago, that I still am connected with, still talk with, the people that I have. I don't follow many therapists on social media, but those I do. Well, I do because I respect them, and because they have integrity. And many of them have been, many of them have been around for many years and practicing. But there are some who've been practicing a less amount of time, who are, I'm old enough to be their mother, and they seem really good. I like what they say. I can't imagine them. I can't imagine they would tell a client. So I don't know where that's coming from, this whole cut your relationship off.
Yeah.
Maybe there are people out there. Maybe there are therapists, and I could be wrong on this. I mean, maybe you would say, Anna, no, that's exactly what my therapist told me to end my relationship with my parents. Maybe.
Yeah. Or it could just be one person that said it, that has a big reach, and all of a sudden it just got out there.
It's a good question, and one that I'm going to take outside of this episode today, and I'm going to think about it a little bit more, and I'll get back to all of you on this, because I'm sure if you're asking, others are asking it. I don't know. I think it might be more of a society we're living in today of maybe air quotes self-care, and maybe autonomy has gone too far in a way that we don't need each other. What I worry about, and I've seen people say this, I've seen posts about this. What I worry about is, okay, you've cut off your relationship with them now. Now you have children. Is it okay? Is there no way you can negotiate time with them? Is there no way, because in 10 or 20 or 30 years, will you have regrets about that?
Sure.
I don't know.
And will your kids?
And some people may say, no, Anna, I won't have regrets.
Well, you might not, but your children might.
Yeah, it's that's why it's hard to speak about this in generalities, because I have relationships with my clients, and I do have some clients who have decided to have no relationship. I have a couple in particular in the last probably 10 years who decided to cut off with their parent. And I have been like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. You really want to do this? I mean, I'm the one who's almost like, let's press on the brakes here. And we process it and we talk about it. That's why they're in therapy. I've never say to them, never said, you need to end a relationship with that parent. No.
Yeah.
Like, okay, is there no way? Is there no way? And they're the ones that, I can't do it. I'm done. And I sometimes am surprised, I'd say, at the hardness of their hearts. And I tell myself, there's a reason why that happened, Anna. You don't have the full story.
Yeah.
It's not my life.
Yeah.
It's their subjective experience of being 9 years old, of being 13 years old, of being 17, of being 30. That's their lived experience with that person. I just try to help them find ways. There's no way you can have a relationship with them. But yes, I have had and do have some individuals who have cut off with their parents.
Yeah.
So
here's my prediction on what you're going to find when you go dig through and you look for this. Where's the source? I think the statement that was given, or the advice that was given, or the coaching that was given, or the therapy that was given was set really good boundaries. And I think somebody took that and interpreted that as, not only is it a boundary, it's an absolute gigantic wall boundary.
Well, okay,
right?
But if you're working with a therapist, and the way we've all been trained is that's called a cutoff. So that's in systems theory. That's a cutoff relationship. You didn't just, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here. We're
Yeah.
really going off on a tangent, but this is relevant today because this is all over social media right now. Like I said, Oprah just did an episode on it. For her, I don't know her. She's got a newer talk show. I don't watch it anymore, watch Oprah anymore, but she did something recently. That's a cutoff.
Yeah.
That's not setting boundaries. That's the relationship is dead. It's come to an end. I think it's entropy is the word. You've cut all ties.
Yeah.
That's not the same as setting boundaries for what you will allow and what you won't allow in the relationship, let's say with your father.
Sure.
That's very different.
Yeah. But
Okay.
I think the person is getting that message is misinterpreting it and then misspeaking it, right?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
That's my prediction.
Okay. Okay. So let's go into this. So, what do we do? It actually is aligned with this conversation. You're no longer so angry and mad. You say to yourself, I'm not as angry, but I'm not the same.
Mm.
I'm not the same person that I was. I've been so affected. It's almost like, Anna, there's this paradigm shift in thinking and how I think about maybe my sibling or my family of origin. Something has changed. Something's different. So anger is loud, right? Anger, think about your anger. Anger, I said last week, is such an easy emotion for almost all of us to feel and to express outwardly. It feels, air quote, good to sometimes go off on someone, to give them a piece of your mind. It feels good. And anger is energizing. It focuses you, it mobilizes you, right? It gives you direction of, this is what I'm going to do with this, right? And anger will fade. It always will. Don't think that you will stay at that high level. You will come down from it, right? And what almost nobody prepares us for is what moves in after the anger goes out.
Mm.
So you think about yourself, like you've been really mad at someone. You've been really mad at me. What happens after you're really mad at me? It can feel sad. There can feel a little bit of a loss, a little bit of grief over what just happened.
Yeah.
What did I just experience?
Yeah.
What did they just do or not do or say or not say? No, I'm not. Oh, geez. Like your shoulders come down. It's like I feel kind of depressed, kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, and I think there might be a little bit of disappointment in yourself, right? To allow yourself to have gone there and be so mad and to let it affect you so much, right?
Yeah.
That for me, I definitely have felt that before. We're like, oh man, that was dumb. That was like, really, over that we had this misunderstanding, and it's like I got so angry. Like, come on.
And you and I have both experienced this before. We've gotten into really big fights with each other. The emotional hangover. It feels like a hangover.
Sure.
If you and I are not right, everything is affected. Like, we need to be right with each other in order for us, I think, to be really successful in every other aspect of our life. If you and I, we don't do this anymore, but we did this more in the beginning. If we had a fight that lasted for 2 or 3 days, and I knew everything, please, I'm human like the rest of you. I knew not to do the silent treatment. Yeah, we were doing the silent treatment with each other. I knew clinically it wasn't smart. It was stupid. Yeah, we're doing it.
Dumb.
And it affected everything. Even though I'm showing up for my clients, deep down inside, I had something that was hanging over me. I had something that was unresolved. I had an anger I had towards someone. I knew we needed to move past that.
Yeah.
We need to have a conversation. We need to come to a conclusion. We have to be okay.
Yeah.
And that hangover is a horrible feeling.
It affected like the kids. The kids could
they knew
feel it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, you're taking somebody to middle school, you're taking somebody to practice or whatever, and it's like, oh, they just knew something was off.
And
right?
especially being a second marriage,
Yeah.
I think we both felt we're very sensitive to, we need this to be
It's got to be solid.
And,
Yeah,
we
100%.
need to have peace, not just for ourselves. I could be really mad at you. That's why we moved into a place of resolving disputes very quickly now.
Yeah.
The kids are, even now in their 20s, like, they will know if you and I are mad at each other, and they will make comments.
Yeah.
They are so dialed into us emotionally.
Yeah.
And, we're happy. They really are happy. Okay. All right. So what happens? So after let's say you've yelled at somebody, you've gone off on somebody in your family you're so upset with, who's hurt you. After you've confronted them, what happens? There's a quiet inside of you. that shows up, right? They're just as quiet. You know, it's there's a sadness that nobody warns us about. It's like, oh, I didn't know I feel this way.
Mm.
You know, there's a, like I said, it's a paradigm shift. There's this identity shift after your family member has let you down. It's like I'm different from this. I'm seeing them in this new way, and a new way that I never wanted to see. I never wanted to experience this with them. I never thought they would do this or they wouldn't be there for me. They barely texted. And I'm so hurt now. I'm not angry anymore. I'm hurt. I can't believe I got some stupid text. Hope everything's okay. Some shallow comment. Where have you been? You were like my ride or die 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You and I did everything together. We experienced all the stuff with mom and dad. And now I need something. I need because my kid is sick. Or now dad's going through this cognitive decline. Where are you? I thought you'd be here with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
So, right.
No, I'm just thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, you and I have had moments of that. We've seen that in extended family members. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting and it's tough to watch all at the same time.
And what we often see now is because we live all over the country and all over the world is the person who lives in the same town is the one who takes the bulk of the responsibility when there's a medical or even a mental health issue. And the people who are not in town are the ones who are not as involved. They can't. Their hours are a plane ride away, and they're not always going to get on a plane and go and visit and be there. Sometimes they will, it depends, but they're not always. And that's the criticism of the child that's there or the adult child that's there is that I was the one who sat in the hospital. I was the one who, sat in those waiting rooms and made those phone calls and waited to hear back from the freaking doctors. I don't even know what I'm dealing with Medicare, with all this medical stuff. I don't know. I mean, I've never dealt with this before. So, I'm getting these bills. Where are you? I need help here. And the person who I see still lives in the same town as mom and dad is a person who takes the bulk of the responsibility. And it's really hard for them. It is. My heart goes out to them. So what can you do if you're somebody who lives in 3 hours away or you live, 3,000 miles away? You can be, I've tried to do this with my father was ill and my mom now, texting, staying involved. There's a family text chain, like staying, making comments, calling individual people who are the caregivers of right now, my mom, checking in on them. I probably need to do it more actually. Flying home. I try to fly home, at least every quarter to see my mom. And, it doesn't matter. I think it matters to her. I don't know how much it matters to her. She's at a place cognitively, which she's aware I'm there, but she'll forget very quickly. I think it matters to my siblings that I'm there, that I just showed up.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So anger is is mobilizing emotion, right? But grief is disorganizing. Grief is this disorganized emotion that is harder and it's complicated for us. We don't know what to do with it. Anger is very clear. Grief is disorganizing. Okay. So anger says, something is wrong. Someone crossed a line. You got to do something, right? But grief says, this is real. This is permanent. And this can't be fixed the way I wanted it to be fixed. Do you see the discomfort and the disorganizing in that?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's not clear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is a stage, this grief, where people will say to me, I feel just heavy. I feel heavy in my body. I feel empty on the inside. I feel alone. I feel lonely. And I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore because I'm tired of it, because it's swirling in my mind. I don't want to talk about it. I've talked about it enough. But pay attention to that. That's someone's grief coming through.
Yeah.
Okay. You might think there's something wrong with you. Why can't I just get past this? Why can't I just get past my anger towards them? My kid's not in the hospital anymore. We're okay. Why can't I just get past my anger at Jessica, Susie, Joe, Pat? Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm not angry. I'm just blah.
Yeah.
That's grief.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like your nervous system is finally accepting the truth of what is.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard realization for all of us of the truth of what is, not what we fantasized about, not what we thought, how we thought they would show up. But now you have the stark reality smack in front of your face of this is how people are behaving and operating in the world around me. And there can feel like a nothingness there.
Yeah. And you're also, so you're talking about there's two things going on for that person, right? If you're the person that was air quotes let down, disappointed, right? That you have emotions about the actual thing that's going on, right? That's already got you spinning. And then on top of that, you add the disappointment of somebody not showing up.
Right.
Right. So it's more than just the event, it's both.
Yeah.
Right. And that person that didn't show up, for them, the event is arguably less important because it's not hitting as close to home as it is for you.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, it's hitting real close to home, and you were disappointed on top of it. Like you just got punched and then kicked. Right.
I just got punched in the face and then kicked in the stomach.
Yeah.
Because I am exhausted from this. So let's take the funeral scenario we talked about. Maybe you're the one who you're the one who did the funeral. You helped do you pretty much did everything. Maybe you were the person that took care of your ailing, let's say the ailing parent. And the funeral happens, you did all of it, you did all planning. And maybe your family members just did the bare minimum. It still was you, right? And not to mention that, and you could bring friends into this too. Like you could bring in maybe your closest friends. Like you didn't receive a card from them, not a text, but not a card, no casseroles, no like acknowledgement of what you've been through, that sadness that we feel. And I think the worst is your family members, your siblings, maybe a very close aunt, maybe a very close uncle, maybe you have a young uncle who's more like an older brother to you, who just was like MIA the whole time. That's that ambiguous loss. And I'm telling you, that is a pain. That is like a dagger to the heart. That pain of sort of being abandoned.
Sure.
It's a feeling of abandonment. Where were you? You all left. Somebody had to do all of this. Oh, yeah. Okay, so whatever. So you like made that one phone call. Why weren't you there with me? Why weren't you doing this with me?
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, can I give you a real life example?
Yeah.
You know this story, right? Obviously. So I got sick in 2016, right?
2015. No, it was 16.
It was 16. It was
right.
16.
Wow.
10
years ago.
The Cubs won the World Series.
Cubs won the World Series that year.
Yeah. And I'm very much aware there are some memories I don't have. I know that. I know there's things that happened that I don't recall.
Yeah.
And I get all that stuff. And I also know that there were people in our circle, in our life, that there was no reach out unless they reached out to you. And we just have never talked about it. But family members that never reached out, right? And I don't think about that stuff. This is like, it's 10 years ago.
Right, because we're talking about it right now.
We're talking about it right now.
Jogging your memory.
Right. But that's still in my, somewhere tucked away in my memory.
Is it? Yeah.
Right? I'm sure it's in there. It's coming up right this second because we're talking about it.
Do you feel like you needed to forgive them? Is this a forgiveness thing?
I mean, I think that's already happened. I mean,
so did you need to forgive them at some level?
Inside myself, yeah, 100%.
You did,
100%.
Because you were hurt and disappointed?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, very disappointed. Like, how could you not even like reach out and nothing? Like literally there was zero. It's as if it didn't happen.
There was someone who knew you very well and did not reach out. I don't think they had any idea. There were certain people who were on the periphery. They had no idea because they'd never experienced cancer in their life.
Yeah.
And they weren't coming around. And I don't think they realized how sick you were. There's one person in particular who had no idea what this, because I knew, because I worked in oncology and I knew most people didn't realize unless how difficult this chemo was. And so it did come across as, I hope you feel better.
Yeah.
It was so like, oh my God, like not feel better. You know what I mean? Like
you have a little stomach ache.
Idea what this is doing to this man. Like not just that you lost every single piece of hair on your body, but it I
Yeah.
mean, you had chemo brain big time for a while.
Yeah.
And just how it wiped you out, made you so sick. And that one person who sort of had very little to do with you during your treatment, it was like a year later, that person had a very, very, very close friend with develop a new cancer diagnosis, stage 3 or stage 4, very sad, breast cancer. And that person reached out to you, and it was like the light bulb went off, and she realized what you had gone through a year and a half before. And I was like, see, now you understand, because
Yeah.
now your very close friend is going through something. And they basically expressed like sorrow, that I'm sorry that I had no idea, and that I didn't, something about like I didn't seem to understand, or I was a little hard on you or something at the time, or something like, why can't you still do this? Why can't you still do that? And it took their very close friend getting
Sure.
cancer for them to realize.
Yeah.
So I think people just didn't,
Well,
people don't realize. It doesn't matter though, right? Does it all, do you almost have to know what chemotherapy and radiation is like for you still to show up for people in your life? Do you need to? No, I don't think so.
I don't
Like,
think
I don't need to
so.
be in everybody's shoes to know that, hey, you send a card. Hey, you send food. Just drop off a card and put a Panera gift card in there.
Yeah.
Or put a Chipotle for the rest of the family. Instead I'm thinking of you, or texting every now and then.
Well, I mean, okay, so now I'm going to talk on both sides of the fence, which that's probably stupid, but I think I have a different view of somebody that's going through something that serious now after going
Because
through it
you went
myself.
through it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do have a little bit more
Yeah.
awareness. I'm educated more. I hold myself differently for sure now than I did prior to it. Is it an excuse? No, I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. I think anytime the C word comes up, like, it's like, that should be like a flashing red light. Like, oh boy, something that's serious.
But I think also the chronic ones, Tim, of like cognitive
sure.
decline in our parents.
Yeah, no.
That is very hard.
Yeah.
The worry, like I'm seeing it now. I mean, with my siblings, because we're in it. That's a stage in our life. My friends' parents, you worry.
Yeah.
It's just the worry of them. They're your mom, they're your dad. Even if you didn't have the most perfect relationship, there's still a worry of, geez, they're still living at home. Are they going to leave? You know the story. Like, leave the gas stove on? Or are they
Sure.
going to remember to take a shower? Or God forbid, they trip on that, the divider between the two floors. Are they okay? Because if you hit their head, that's it. They're a goner. And the worry that goes on.
Yeah.
So I think that, do we have to always know what somebody else is experiencing in order to show up for them?
I don't think so.
I think it's a lesson for all of us, and a reminder that we get busy. And I do too. I get busy and I forget. I mean, we had 2 people we know recently who passed, and I kind of felt guilty that I didn't send a card the next day. And it took me, well, one person, I did it on purpose. I wanted the card to come late on purpose because I wanted them to get that card when everything had died down. And that we all wrote a really nice note in there because it was someone we really care about, but we haven't seen in 8 years. So I think that it's important to just still do something, even if you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
In many of these situations, we don't want to know what it's like because it's really tough. Okay.
I mean, so this comes back full circle to the golden rule, right? Like do unto others as you would have them do to you. Like put yourself in that person's position, and what would you appreciate? Well, that's what you do.
And I think, so this ambiguous loss, let's go back to that. So this ambiguous loss is what I said about, your parents in the hospital, or something happened and you have this tilted relationship with your sibling. They're still alive. You're still affected by how they were not there for you, but you no longer feel emotionally safe with them. That's a massive shift in how you feel and think about them. Let's take, your parents exist. Your parents are still there, but they don't show up the way you need them. And you never thought they would be the way they are, and I have heard this, gosh, I still hear this today, but I've heard this for decades. My clients in their 20s and 30s having children and being shocked that their parents, their grandparents, are not showing up the way they imagined they would be, how they remember them as their mom, their dad. And they're not showing up that way as a grandparent because, hey, they're traveling and they're still working and they don't want to take care of your kids. They don't want to be the daycare provider. Hey, they don't even really want to see you on the weekends because they're whatever it might be. And the hurt and the pain of those parents that their in-laws or their mom and dad are not being there the way they thought they would be for their children. That is something that can cause a major shift because they're not showing up the way you kind of need them to be. You want them to be, right? Your family is still intact, but the bond is forever changed. The bond is not the same because nobody was there when Joe relapsed, and I was, and I had to deal with therapists and case managers and getting him or her into a halfway house. Where were all of you? I needed help with that. This was, well, I don't want to be there. I'm not codependent. I'm not dealing. I have my boundaries, and this is tough love. And this is their seventh, decompensation, seventh time that they've like fallen off the wagon. It's not about, I'm going to use the word Joe. So I'm just going to say, it's not about Joe or Julie. It's about me. I needed assistance. I understand how you feel about them. I feel the same way, actually, in many ways.
Yeah.
I needed help. I needed someone to call insurance. I needed someone to freaking get in their car and go over there and take them from one facility to the other facility. You didn't do any of that. I had to do that. Yeah. I take time off of work. That's the loss that I think we don't talk about enough, that we feel with that sibling, right? Sometimes it's just, what can I do to help? This is what I need.
Yeah.
Right. But that person's not asking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's like, I now know who I can rely on and who I can't. And oftentimes it's just me. I can't rely on anybody to help me, and the disappointment around that. Yeah. Okay. So the truth doesn't explode inside of us. That's the anger. The truth settles. It settles.
Yeah. We touched on it last time.
I know.
I don't know.
It changes us.
It does, but I don't know if it's fair to let that one circumstance or that person let you down define that person for you forever, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe that was just the one thing that they just couldn't handle.
Well, you're looking for right, Tim.
Yeah.
And you're looking for patterns. So if you're like, okay, well, maybe they had, and maybe you did blow up at them. They're like, I had so and so who was sick. I had this big deadline at work, and I just can't get on a plane. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That could be a one-off, and we've had like, okay, that was a one-off.
Yeah.
And they are there. And even though I know that I'm in New York and they're in LA, or North Dakota and I'm in Florida, they call all the time. They FaceTime. How are you? What's going on? What can I do from where I'm at? Can I make phone calls? I'll take my lunch hour and call Medicare. I'll call the insurance company. Even if you can't do much, it shows the person who's there, like, okay, they care. Their heart's in the right place. You're looking at, and we all pick up on this, is their heart in the right place?
Yeah. That's
because
fair.
It's the care of you as, let's say, the sibling.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Okay. So, it's like, yeah, you don't, it's the pattern of like, they show up when it matters. They show up when this is when I need the help, or they don't. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, what are we doing here? So let's take the addiction person. Let's take the sibling who's addicted. Anger sounds like, why? Let's say your person is an alcoholic and they're falling off the wagon and they're going through the DTs and they're in the hospital, and you feel like, you should have chose better. No, now I'm the sibling talking to like my sibling. Why didn't you choose better? You're effing up your life. You're totally screwing up your life. If you loved us all, you'd stop this right now. You'd go to treatment and stay sober. You would, that's anger that I feel about control of, I want to control the situation because I want this to stop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's it's not a rational request, is it? I mean,
and
do better.
Well, and we do
fix yourself.
I know it's
yeah.
not, it's not rational, but feelings aren't rational, right?
Yeah.
They're not rational.
Yeah.
But after the anger goes away, we go into exactly that, oh, I can't control this other person's healing or getting better. And oftentimes I see the family members of addicts because they need support around this and they need direction and coaching up around this, that, oh, okay, I have to work on that. I can't control the pace at which they heal. I can't control if they even heal. I can't control if they ever get better. And the stark and very painful realization that they may never get help with this. They may never go to treatment. Or if they do, what's the average? What's the average admittance or for rehab? I think it's 7 times is the average relapse. 7 times, 7
Wow.
admittances to rehab facilities. 7. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble if you think the 1 or 2 times is going to do it. 7.
That's a big number.
Yeah. Well, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So think about that.
Yeah.
And think about the months and years that goes on and how it just wears people down to a nub. It just what it does to people and the family. Okay, I can't control this. I can only control me.
Yeah.
And I will work on me. You move out of anger. I'll move into a place of more of a quiet thoughtfulness about how you're going to show up for that person in your life. And you will work on boundaries, maybe without cutting them off. Now, I'm telling you, it may seem like, oh yeah, I cut them out of my life for now, because I can't be, showing up for them and rescuing them. That's more specific work around codependency and addiction. And each case is a case by case, and it's nuanced. What every family does. I think if you get with a really good, respectable therapist, they're going to help you through this. They're going to counsel you through this and how you show up and how you don't show up. If you're a codependent person and you've always been there, then this is going to be really hard for you because you have to learn boundaries and you have to learn how to stop rescuing and what it says about you as a rescuer. Because when we take that away from the codependent, it's like, wait, that's my identity. I've always been that person. I take care of everyone. I fix it for everyone. I make it better. That's my role. And if I don't have that, who am I without it? That's more specifically a codependency piece
Yeah.
of this. So that's why this is like, we're speaking about such general topics, and anger we're going down rabbit holes because now we're
Yeah.
talking about addiction with a person to family.
Well, but the anger is like the thread that kind of intersects through all of it, right?
And when we accept the truth of what is, what do we have? When we move out of anger, we move into acceptance of this is what it is. This is who they are. This is how they're showing up right now. When we get clear about that, we have emotional sovereignty. That's what this is. It's emotional sovereignty for yourself that this is what this is, and this is how I will show up in this situation. And this is how I see the people around me with their flaws, with the pockmarks on their face. And I can still accept them and be okay with me. I can be mad at them, still a little bit mad. Don't forget.
Yeah.
And I can learn to let some of it go and not have so much of the vitriol and move out of grief too.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the word communication comes right back, right to front and center, like being communicative throughout this entire process, explaining how you feel, why you feel it, what it's doing to you, what do I need because of that, right? All of those things, you have to be able to have this transparent.
Well, those are difficult conversations.
Means. Sure.
And I don't know. I think I don't know a lot of people who are doing that. I think that those who are in therapy, sometimes it's coaching, are getting help around that because I think that communication, what we see, because as humans, this is very hard to do, is it's easier just to sort of cut off with that person and stop texting and stop calling them.
Of course it is.
That's what I think actually most people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have that grief that just hangs out there.
But
it's unresolved,
just
right?
because you take the easy street doesn't mean that's the correct street, right? Like
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's move into, I'm going to give you some power moves here. So, you're no longer as angry and PO'd as you used to be. You have moved into this realization that, geez, I kind of saw some of their true colors and there's this sadness and grief around it. We move into your number one power move is to move into acceptance without anxiety. Okay. So you're learning to accept their limits. Now I know that's easy for me to say. Another thing for you all to do, you're learning. Hear that? Learning. Not you've learned. So it stays static. You're learning to accept these people in your life, their limits, without granting emotional amnesia to yourself. Like, you don't forget, you don't have amnesia. You're accepting them. You remember, you do remember. It's almost impossible to not remember. But you're accepting this is their limitations, right? You know, you don't pretend that what they did or didn't do didn't matter. It did matter, but you're integrating it into now your how you think of them and how you feel about them. Okay. So I'm putting you into this sort of this gray space, and it's not all or nothing. It's all black or white. You know, we consider those thought distortions, right? They're in this gray area, and this is hard work. I mean, I'm not saying this is easy. This could be months and months of therapy, months and months and months of therapy of learning to work with yourself around not forgetting what happened, but seeing them in a new way. Maybe not a bad way, but seeing this person with all their limitations. So it's your acceptance of them without you having anxiety. Okay. So, number two, your power move is reality aligned boundaries. I think every episode, I feel like these days I'm talking about boundaries. You know, it's not, you've moved out of, you're not punishing them. You're not going to do like the silent treatment. That's a form of punishment. You're not doing punishments. You're not giving them ultimatums anymore. Maybe you did when you're in the crisis. No more ultimatums. You know, you're moving into boundaries that match, you know, your needs and maybe the realization of their capacity. And maybe that is what really hurts and is really hard to accept is you're seeing their capacity, which you had no idea about before. You thought they had more capacity and they don't. So you are, and okay, I have boundaries now that match their capacity, how they're going to show up, and what I need, and what is, I feel, the truth here, and what is, in my situation, my truth.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really important. Reality aligned boundaries. Okay.
So you kind of assessed what that person is capable of bringing to the table is what you're saying, right? And you also then are allowing yourself to become good with it. Is that right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I don't know if anybody who's been through this would say, I don't know, Tim, I don't know if I'm good with it. I've accepted it.
Yeah.
And being accepting of a situation, you know, like, I'm not going to live in anxiety, I'm not going to live in this anger and resentment towards this person anymore. I'm not good with it.
Yeah.
And I accept it.
Yeah. Well, when I say good, I mean, I guess it's how you define good. Like, good in that you've come to a place where you're at peace with it because
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
not going to, it's not your job to fix them, change them, and you can't.
And remember, everybody, you all know this. This is for you. So we talk about forgiveness. Many of you have heard this in your life. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. Same situation here. This is for you. Wait, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, I'm good with it. I've forgiven them if I need to forgive them for something.
Yeah.
Because that's my work on my emotional, my mental health, and maybe my spiritual health. Right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So here's your next power move. You stop needing them to become who you needed. And that's really big.
Okay.
You stop needing them to become who I needed them to be at the time, right? So this is, I think, the deepest emotional release in this whole arc of change. This is big. Okay. So you no longer, you don't chase the fantasy version of them anymore. You have been smacked in the face with who they've shown you to be. What did Maya Angelou say? When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. This is it.
Yeah.
They showed you who they were and who they are in a time of crisis. We did talk about the one-off, and you're saying, Anna, this isn't a one-off. This is a pattern. I've seen this. And actually, truth be told, now that I really think about it, there were patterns years ago that they didn't matter to me so much personally, so I didn't pay as much attention to it. I did hear about it in conversations with cousins, and they would talk about certain friends. Oh, now it's happened to me. They did show you who they were many years ago.
Yeah.
These are patterns. Now today, it's just affected you, right?
Yeah.
So when you stop needing them to be a certain way, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Okay.
So here's a visual for you because this is what's stuck in my head right now. It's like you're expecting this person to be this way, right? It's like you went up to them and you're like unbuttoning that shirt, expecting to see the big S on their chest,
Yeah.
right? And it's not there, right? Like
Yeah.
there is no Superman that's coming to
Instead,
bail
it's
you.
gray shirt with coffee stains on it
There you go.
and boogers. I mean, they're just whatever. They're just very flawed human beings.
There you go.
And the image and how you thought they would be is so far from how they showed up. And that's this whole episode, which is about grief.
Sure.
And the realization. And number 4, your power move number 4 is, let the relationship or the relationships evolve or end if they need to end without you villainizing them. I would say let the relationship evolve without you villainizing them. Like I said, I mean, ending, I'm not going to die on that hill. I won't die on that hill because like I just said earlier in this episode about unless someone's like really doing some real violence to you.
Yeah.
I would say you let it evolve. Okay. And that might be with a ton of limits and a ton of boundaries, right? So not every ending to a story needs for you to have an enemy. And that's really important. There doesn't need to be a villain or an enemy in every situation, okay? Not every distance that you have with a family member now, if you're distancing yourself because to take care of your health, needs to be the story. Doesn't need to be a story.
Yeah.
I think that's big. We're so performative today. Everybody's so narcissistic. No, it doesn't. Well, that's not true. We're overusing that term. But not everything needs a big story. Just let it be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is. Talk to your spouse, talk to your best friend, talk to your mom, talk to your therapist, talk to your life coach about it. Doesn't need to be a big story. Doesn't need to be performative. This is just what it is. This is what it is today. Okay.
Right.
Sometimes it just needs your awareness that this is how it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you're not taking the advice of letting it evolve and you're using the word end, now we've gone all the way back to the beginning of the episode. We're like cutting people out, like ending relationships. That now we've taken that message of evolvement and we've turned it into this misinterpretation of cutout.
I'm not going to say never do that.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea. Truth be told, I have no idea what's going on in your life unless you're a client of mine. I have no idea what's going on in you listening, you watching here on YouTube. You know your life. You know your situations. This is your lived experience. I'm not going to say or recommend to any of you to cut people out of your life. That's something you need to do and work with your own therapist or your own coach.
Right.
Okay? Not me. I can't say that. But I will say in my practice, I don't know. I really don't think I wouldn't say that. I can't even imagine that inside of me, saying that to another person. But I have people who are doing it. Sure. And I remember the one time I almost felt like kind of nervous. I think it was like, ooh, because family is so important to me. I'm like, really, really want to do this. And they are doing it. And one person I completely understand. I can agree because it's abusive. The other one, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know her experience. I don't know.
Right.
Okay. So let's close this up. All right. So at the end of all of this, what I hope you get from this is you've moved through the anger and you move into sort of this grief and loss. I want you to also move into this place of integration and authority. Okay. So anger shows you, what does anger show you? Anger shows you where the boundary was crossed, right? Grief shows you what mattered to you. That's what grief is showing you something. Always pay attention to your feelings and what is this showing you? What are you meant to learn here? Really good coaching question. What are you meant to learn here? Okay. Acceptance shows you who you are. I love that. Your acceptance shows you who you are. That's really important. Okay. I'd write that down. The real power does not live for you. The real power does not live in whether they change or not. It's inside of you and in your acceptance. Okay. So, the power lives in how you carry the truth forward, right? Without becoming bitter, hard, or closed off to them or to situations.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were just broken open by family disappointment, family pain, something happened, and you're really feeling like this just laid me out flat. The pain, the hurt, the disappointment. I want you to hear this. You are not weaker now, okay? You're not weaker. You're wiser. You've learned from this, okay? So hopefully you will take these 2 episodes and you come out of it with more wisdom about what anger is, what its function is, how it's showing up for you, and what grief does, and what we learn from our grief, okay? Wisdom changes how we love. It changes how we love. It changes how we love ourselves, how we take care of ourselves, and how we choose to love the people around us, even the people in our lives who make us so mad.
And we have them.
We sure do.
Yeah.
Every single one of us, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hope that this was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast with 5 stars. And don't forget about the group coaching. It starts in January. You will not regret it. I'm excited for it. I haven't ran a group coaching course in a few years. So I'm excited for this. And you are going to take skills away from that session, those sessions. You will not regret it. Okay. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. Mad love.